Hello, everyone, and welcome to this explainer. If you love digging deep into textual studies, you've probably hit a wall of conflicting interpretations at some point and just wondered, why isn't this straightforward? Well, it's entirely natural to want concrete answers, but sometimes our methodology for finding them just needs a bit of an update. So today, we're going to explore a really incredible methodological framework designed to help you navigate those difficult texts and completely shift your study sessions from frustrating to fascinating.
To do this, we're going to anchor our approach in its academic origins from a brilliant lecture at the Robert E. Cooley Theological Seminary. By adopting this RECTS framework today, we're establishing a mindset that's scholastic and structured, sure, but also super accessible. Ultimately, this whole framework is just about managing our expectations before we even crack open a book to start studying.
Here is our roadmap for today. First, we'll establish the spectrum of certainty. Second, finding clear answers. Third, the realm of speculation. And finally, embracing theological mysteries. Let's get right into it.
Section 1. The Spectrum of Certainty, a methodology for biblical questions.
According to the curriculum text, all those theological questions we ask actually fall into a pretty simple taxonomy of 4 categories. Number 1. Some questions have absolutely clear answers, meaning the text is explicit and undeniable. Number 2, others have probable answers, where we can make a very educated, well-supported deduction just based on the surrounding context. Number 3, some have speculative answers, where we might have a few clues, but honestly, a significant amount of guesswork is involved. And number 4, still others have absolutely no answers at all. That's where the text is entirely silent, and any attempt to answer would be pure imagination. Having this blueprint is a total game changer for reducing frustration. When you hit a difficult text, your very first job is simply to figure out which of these 4 categories your question actually belongs in.
Section 2. Finding clear answers, or when the Bible speaks plainly. If you ever start feeling bogged down by complex, endless debates, it is so reassuring to remember this one fact. Most of the biblical and theological content found in the study curriculum is actually incredibly clear. The vast majority of the core issues we study have conclusive answers. That means we don't have to wander around in the dark trying to figure out the foundational tenets of the faith. It is super easy to get distracted by those loud academic debates, but the bedrock of our study remains remarkably solid and accessible.
To see exactly what a clear, foundational answer looks like in practice, let's just take a look at 1 John chapter 4, verses 7 and 8. The text reads, "Dear friends, let us love one another, for love comes from God. Everyone who loves has been born of God and knows God. Whoever does not love does not know God, because God is love." When we ask a theological question like, what is the nature of God's relationship with love, the text speaks completely plainly to us.
Because the scripture is so incredibly direct right there, this teaching is entirely clear. As our source notes, it's accepted by all Christendom. Doctrines with clear answers like this one form the universally accepted bedrock of faith, requiring absolutely no speculation. When you identify a question that falls into this first category, you can rest securely in the consensus and the clarity it provides.
Section 3. The Realm of Speculation, Descending into the Unknown.
Now, as we move further down our spectrum, this requires a shift to a much more inquisitive and honestly humble tone. Ask yourself, how hard is it to admit that your interpretation might just be wrong? For a lot of us, it's a real challenge. Yet, our study text states plainly that other biblical and theological questions are so difficult that we can only offer speculative answers, fully knowing that we may be in error. That is a massive paradigm shift. For certain difficult texts, we simply must hold our interpretations loosely and embrace the humility of potential error.
Let's look at a truly fascinating case study that captures this perfectly. In 2 Thessalonians 2:6, the Apostle Paul is writing about the future manifestation of a figure he calls the man of lawlessness. Paul writes, "And now you know what is holding him back, so that he may be revealed at the proper time."
I want you to put yourself directly into the shoes of a theologian wrestling with this text right now. You read the verse, and the immediate glaring question practically jumps off the page. What exactly is holding him back? What is this restrainer that Paul is talking about? Scholars have pored over the historical context, the original language, and endless cross-references for centuries trying to answer this exact question.
While the reality from our curriculum is that the Bible simply does not say clearly what stops this manifestation. Although several theories certainly exist, there is no definitive answer. This absolute lack of explanation perfectly illustrates what makes an answer speculative. Recognizing this is huge because it prevents us from forcing a clear answer onto a speculative text, which saves us from so much unnecessary conflict. We can explore the theories, for sure, but we have to acknowledge them as exactly that, theories, not concrete doctrines.
Section 4. Embracing theological mysteries and applying the framework.
When we juxtapose our two scriptural examples side by side, the contrast is just stark. Clear answers are conclusive and universally accepted, just like we saw with 1 John 4 declaring that God is love. Speculative answers, on the other hand, are open to error and rely entirely on theories, like trying to figure out the identity of the restrainer in 2 Thessalonians 2. Correctly categorizing your expectations protects the bedrock of your faith while giving you the complete freedom to explore mysteries. You don't have to demand absolute certainty from a passage that was never intended to provide it in the first place.
So, I want to leave you with a bit of a provocative thought as we wrap up this explainer. The next time you sit down to study and you encounter a truly difficult text, will you force it into the clear answer box and demand certainty? Or, using this spectrum, are you prepared to humbly accept the mystery and enjoy the realm of speculation? Keep the RECTS framework in mind and watch how it transforms your learning. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep exploring.